and welcome back to part 2 of my series Subconscious Beliefs, Shadow Work, and How to Truly Change Yourself by embracing all parts of you and become truly magnetic. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Alina if you're new here, and today we will talk about all things shadow work. You can compare shadow work a little bit with inner child healing because you're facing, those hidden parts of you, those hidden aspects that you do not really like to see, that you're avoiding usually, that you do not like to talk about, things that you're constantly suppressing. And I'm going to teach you in this video how you can actually start to embrace them, and embrace them in a healthy way, express them in a healthy way, and release all resistance, and in that way make up a lot of space so you can become magnetic for the things that you really want. Because if you're open and receptive and you make space in your life for more to come in, this is usually when it actually also happens. By you holding on and feeling shameful and guilt about those hidden aspects of you, you are not going to get much further. So as I already said in my previous video, is that all those hidden aspects of you, anything good or bad inside of you, is actually serving a purpose. So you should be not judging it, you should be actually thanking it, because as I said already in my previous video, subconscious beliefs and limitations are there to protect you, to avoid pain, to avoid hurt. If you're seeing it as like a little shell where you're hiding yourself, instead of like this dark, cloudy, bad person that you think that you maybe are, then you could see it in a much different light and you could give it some more love instead of hating and suppressing it all the time. So the dark shadow of you is basically a part of you that you do not really like to show, that you usually suppress, but that also keeps you socially acceptable. And you will avoid rejection through that, you will avoid abandonment, and you're just trying to protect yourself. How can you actually spot the shadow in your life? How you can spot those subconscious limitations and the darker aspects of you? The first thing is you experience extreme fear, extreme triggers, like you're so triggered by a certain thing, and your thoughts are spiraling and you cannot seem to get out of your head, and you're overthinking and overthinking and overthinking. When you're avoiding something and you procrastinate so much, when you're judging yourself or others, feeling embarrassed or super cringe, or you feel ashamed about something. One thing that most people are probably doing is they shame and suppress the shadow self. They're feeling embarrassed about it, so they hide it. They're feeling fearful, so they press it down. They try to fight it. Like anything that you try to fight usually becomes stronger. Like you cannot fight fire with fire. Guess what? The fire just gets bigger. One thing that you need to do instead is you actually need to start to embrace it. You need to start to acknowledge it, and you need to start to thank it for its purpose. Because in the end, your shadow side, your inner child, it's just protecting you from all those bad experiences and those fears, and it keeps you in your safe bubble so that you don't get hurt. And you might think, yeah, that's sometimes super annoying, but at the same time, it is serving a purpose and is there to actually, help you in a way. Like it has a good intention, let's say. In order to make up space and to become magnetic, you need to, release all this tension from your body. You need to release and make room for bigger. But if you're holding on, you're suppressing it and you're shoving it down, like you don't really have much space. Like you're just, putting all those things underneath the carpet, but it's not going to be cleaned up. Like there's still going to be a lot of mess underneath the carpet, and eventually sooner or later, like if the, mountain gets bigger, you can see it, like you will notice it and you will stumble across it, and you need to, actually clean the mess up. You need to be like, okay, it's fine. I do not need to judge myself. I do not need to suppress it. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to let it free. So what you're doing in that process is you're actually alchemizing fear. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transmuted. So if you're transmuting that fear, that shame, that guilt inside of yourself, and you embrace it, you acknowledge it, you integrate it instead of suppressing it and shoving it down, you are able to release it. If you move through that fear, like what is on the other side? There's love, there's acceptance, there's gratitude. So if you move through that fear and you're transmuting it into love and gratitude, you are raising your frequency 10x. You're becoming more accepting, you're becoming less triggered, you stop being so judgmental and critical all the time. You become more tolerant of yourself, of other people, and you're just becoming so much more calm. You will have so much more peace of mind. So the steps that you need to make in order to embrace and integrate your shadow parts are acknowledgement, facing it, being thankful for it and like actually acknowledging its purpose, and then finding a healthy way of expressing yourself. So now it's time to journal and to actually write those things down, because I believe if you sit yourself down and you write things out, it is such a better tool of becoming more aware and to really start to working on it, like really becoming conscious about those parts of you. So you can ask yourself these 4 questions. When do I feel defensive? When do I feel ashamed or embarrassed? What do I usually avoid or procrastinate? What do I judge in myself and others? So if you ask yourself these questions and you start to write things down, you start like, this is when, you know, you're starting to become aware and you're facing it. And then you will write something down that is basically like thanking that part of you that is basically just trying to protect you. What I personally did is I used ChatGPT when it comes to like coming up with journal questions. If you're believing in astrology, I personally do. I love astrology. I love, you know, watching my natal charts, because for me it's so accurate. I realized a lot of things about myself when I actually, you know, studied my birth chart. And for that, I will put some prompts here in the video so that you can take a screenshot and you can take those prompts and put it for your own birth chart. So for that, you actually need to go to astroseek.com to find your birth chart, and then you make a screenshot of it. You can put it into ChatGPT and you can ask ChatGPT those specific prompts. So what I basically found out is, you know, like there are specific parts of your birth chart that are kind of showing your shadow side, that you know, are things that you are meant to overcome in this lifetime, which can be your north node, your vertex, your moon, like when you're, for example, having difficulties in your relationships, or your Lilith. Like Lilith is usually the shadow aspect of Mars, and depending where it's placed in your birth chart, you will have, you know, certain struggles in that certain area, whether that's money or relationships or friendships, family life, it could be anything. So it is dependent on your specific birth chart. If you do not believe in astrology, you can also just ask ChatGPT for basic and general questions or journal prompts to face your shadow self. You could basically write any prompt, but you know, ChatGPT gave me certain prompts based on my birth chart and the things that I personally struggle with, and it helped me immensely because these were specific questions that were really triggering me in a way, and where I had to really learn how to overcome myself, and that really helped. So now that we became aware, we faced it, and we also thanked it, we need to find a healthy way of expressing ourselves, which could be having a journal with 2 sides. So, you know, you have a journal book, and on the one side, you just write all your positive affirmations, like all the things that you want to manifest, like just positive things, right? And then on the back of it, it's kind of like your shadow journal, and you could vent and you could be frustrated like any single time that you're having negative emotions. And I feel like that is super tricky, especially in like manifestation mindset communities, where they constantly tell you, you need to just feel good, like you need to raise your frequency and feel like. Sometimes we do not feel good. Sometimes we do have bad thoughts. Sometimes we do want to complain, which is okay. We just need to find a healthy way of expressing it. Instead of complaining to a friend, like write it out. If you're mad at somebody, write them a letter. Do not send it, like you can burn it, but you can also just write it out, write it down. Like I feel so much better when I express myself with my words, like on paper. And if I take that time to find a healthy and creative way of expressing it, for example, writing a poem, that's something that I used to do when I was very depressed. I was, you know, crying, and I wrote a poem of like the thoughts that I was thinking, and I feel so much better. Like I could release the emotions and actually find a beautiful way of expressing my pain, and, you know, find creative ways of journaling it out and, you know, integrating that shadow side of yours. It's not always about suppressing it and avoiding it and trying to not feel it. You need to actually feel it to heal it. Feeling means healing. So stop suppressing it, acknowledge it, write it out, and find a healthy way. And this is also a way of exploring all your emotions, good or bad, and having a safe place in order to transmute them later. Like you could write about anything negative at workplace, any judgments or jealousy that you experience, and you could write it out loud. And when you write it out, you most likely will also see subconscious beliefs playing out and like any limitations that you might be still having. So journaling is just such a good tool in order to become more aware and, you know, facing those parts of you. Then art or music, dancing, anything creative, like anything where you can express your emotions, where you can express your body freely, move your body. Like, you know, the best way of releasing tension in your body is through movement. And, you know, dancing or, you know, like yoga practices, anything where you have to like breathe and move yourself, it's a good tool to express yourself in a healthy way. The next thing you could do is develop a kind of shadow character. Like from time to time, maybe it's kind of cool to tap into your shadow side and express yourself, like talk and walk as those shadow side of yours and start to embrace it. Like don't you misuse it, you know, don't be, you know, toxic, but feel powerful in your dark side, feel powerful in that shadow aspect of yours, and, you know, put up that character that you can be once in a while and expressing yourself, whether it's through art or, you know, those poems or journaling. Be that shadow self for a while to express yourself and then go back into your higher elevated self. The next thing is learning how to have healthy communication. Using iMessages has been such a game changer for me in order to express myself without projecting and without judging others. And that is such a big thing, guys. Like, healthy communication and like using communication skills is such a great tool to also avoid any toxic situationships, any toxic relationships or friendships. And you can start to become such a better person by integrating those things. Then you could do meditation, visualization, energy healing, inner child work in order to really, you know, go deep and transform yourself from the inside out by really being present and being still with yourself. You just need to start to be really honest with yourself and others. Like, find healthy ways of communicating your insecurities. Like, learn to be vulnerable. You know, like it's nothing wrong with being vulnerable from time to time. Like, you don't need to always be so strong. Like, you know, it is also a strength to sometimes show your vulnerable side to people. Recognize when you're projecting instead of using, you know, a healthy communication tool. Use that self-awareness through identifying patterns, because when you identify those patterns that you constantly do, think, feel, act, then you can start also changing them because you become aware. That is when we will have options. Otherwise, we most likely will not really have a choice because we are so stuck in our autopilot behavior, in our autopilot thinking, feeling that we're not really able to make a shift in our lives. If you want to find more resources now in order to really transform yourself and integrate those shadow parts and work on yourself, start with inner child healing and self-concept work, EFT tapping, like all those methods of subconscious rewiring. And check out the Inner Bloom platform in my description box below. I'm on there as a mindset manifestation coach where I do monthly workshops in order to really truly transform yourself. And there's also 70 plus other healers and coaches and therapists on this platform in order to really help yourself and become your best self. And then this was my video, guys. If you have any other questions, drop it in the comment below. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you have any topic suggestions, put it also down below. Sending you so much love and light, and until next time, bye.